Bam. Going live. You're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. First things first, how is the audio from me? It's not going to be very good, but can you hear me okay, basically? Good evening from Indonesia. Hello, Indonesia. And also say hello, Caradog, just so people can see how the audio is for you. Hello.
Good evening. Good afternoon. Good day.
God.
How are we doing?
Chris Kingan in with the $20 super chat. Let's get the party started tonight. Thank you very much, as always, Chris. Greatly appreciated.
Wait, isn't Chris also a channel member?
Yes, I believe he is.
Good Lord.
Yes,
Dedication.
He is. Yep,
Thank
Chris
you.
is a very generous fellow. I greatly appreciate you, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, audio is fine. Good. What happened? What happened indeed? There is the old shop is kill. The old shop is no more. It's gone. Well, it's not gone. I can still go in there, but it's a bomb site in there. It's just it's horrendous.
It's gone.
Shop tour or riot. You got to subscribe for that. Not subscribe because that's what you do on YouTube anyway. You got to follow the channel. You have to join the channel. You have to join the channel, or you got to be a patron, or you have to give me money.
You'll get there. You'll get there. Good Lord.
Yep, that's
words are difficult.
Yep, the premium members who are either channel members, or Patreon, or Twitch followers, or whatever, are seeing all the behind the scenes stuff. And there will be another video of the big move that has happened over this weekend. I'll be putting that together this evening and tomorrow, so people can see how that all went down. Eventually, everything will be public. So if you just want the free stuff, it will all go public eventually. But that'll be weeks, if not a month or two, I would expect, because I'm waiting until everything is done before the big public reveal. However, yes, I am sitting in the new shop. I need a pop-out chat.
The painting, decorating, light fitting.
I don't know how much of it I'm going to be able to do before the reveal, because like repainting and stuff like that. I'm just like, we got to repaint in here, haven't we? But that's not something I anticipated doing as part of the fit. Yeah. So there's no plan for that at the moment, but it kind of needs to be done. Those headphones are giant. Yeah, this is my new Rig 800 set. So yeah, they're a little bit giant. This is why I had that tiny little creative set, because the little creative headphones were discreet. However, these are really lightweight wireless headphones. So yeah, they've got quite a lot of clamping force, which I'm not a massive fan of, but they're very, very lightweight, which I do like. Shop floor area, old versus new. I don't know the square footage. However, it's approximately 3 times the size. Basically, there are 2 main rooms to the new shop, and each of the room is the size of the entire building of my old shop. So my old shop was the main room, a back room, and a kitchenette/toilet. One of the 2 rooms is the size of all of that combined. And I've got 2 of those rooms, plus a kitchen, storeroom, and toilet as well. So it's a massive, massive upness. It's bigger. I'm tired.
Bigness.
Yeah,
the bigness, the giantness.
I'm very tired. I've been moving a lot of stuff this weekend. But yes, these are these headphones. It's a Rig 800 headset, so Plantronics, and it's all right so far.
It's
Yeah.
Rig.
Rig is the
Rig a
Plantronics game.
brand
Yeah,
of Plantronics.
Yeah, Rig is the Plantronics gaming division.
Interesting.
Do they have an auto off function? I don't know. I haven't had them long enough to tell yet. However, the power switch is a physical switch. Well, it's electronic, but there is actually a switch that you flick to the off position to tell them to turn off, which I greatly prefer to my Corsair Voids, which have got a power button on them that you have to hold down, and I really hate holding buttons to do stuff. I want to put them on and just go press to turn on. And the Corsair says you've got to go, okay, it's on. Whereas with these ones, you just flick the switch and it says power on. And you're like, thank you.
I like
So,
it. I like it if it's going to be like that, where it's the other way around. So you just tap it to turn it on and press and hold to turn off. So
yeah,
it's
same.
much harder to accidentally turn off. So if you
Yeah,
have to have a push and hold type setup because of you have too few buttons to functions,
yeah.
then fine,
I
have it
suppose
on the
it's the
turn
only.
off.
Yeah, it's the only way that really works for a push button setup, isn't it? But
Yeah.
however, with this one, as I say, they've got physical switches on it, which is nice, and also the volume dial is an actual rotary encoder, whereas my Corsair Voids have one of those little flicky switches that flicks up or flicks down, and those are annoying because they break, and my ones are broken, which they kind of work, but you have to hold it and jiggle it at a funny angle, whereas this one, it's just got a rotary encoder, so you just flick the dial up and down to turn the volume up and down. So
It's kind of cool.
we're on headsets, by the way. Am I going to do a review? I probably will.
I think actual volume wheels on things are massively underrated.
I agree.
So I had a
I agree.
G19. I had a G15 and a G19, the keyboards from Logitech. And one of the things that I liked the most about the G19 is they moved up to having an actual scrolling wheel on it, as opposed to just having an up and down button.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, because it's somewhat satisfying just kind of flicking it and just kind of going, shh, everything quiet now.
Yeah. Let's see. Those graphics cards sold for 65 quid on eBay. What graphics cards? And I can't remember. But yes, yeah, no, I agree, because also, like, I think just there used to be a craze for keyboards having media buttons on them, and you would have a big volume wheel on your keyboard, and those kind of went out of vogue as well. And like most things have a volume up and volume down, but there's still something very gratifying about having an actual rotary wheel.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I do agree.
And I think it's partially possibly also kind of around the same time we started getting many more functions per key kind of things. It's like, having the media keys not be separate keys, but be integrated into existing keys.
Yeah.
So, like even on my full size keyboard, the media keys are run on like insert and delete and stuff like that, as opposed to having their own buttons. So
Yeah,
I don't know,
that's
unless
true.
that's kind of a mechanical keyboard thing, and they're kind of like the switches are actually quite expensive, so adding in more switches actually would affect the cost.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, because I've got the volume up and down keys on my keyboard that are activated on FN, page up, page down, and there is a right hand FN key, so you can do it one handed, and I use those religiously.
Don't ask how you do it on that.
Oh no, it's your stupid. What is that? A 40% keyboard? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you genuinely like it, or are you just using it because it's neat?
I don't know. It's something that I have to use it for a long time to get to that point to work that out, I think. Just because using it is fine for typing and so on, I cannot use it at work, basically.
Yeah.
Because at work, I need to be able to type numbers and percentages and stuff.
Yes, that's
and
fair.
doing that is easily possible on here, but it's not possible whilst you're touch type.
Yeah.
You're
using it and you're like
out 60 to 80 words a minute sort of thing.
That's one of those situations where you're just like, man, if only I had a dedicated set of keys just for numbers, like some kind of numerical pad, and you could put it slightly to the right where it was in easy reach of my right hand, so I could go straight to it.
I wish numpads were on the left-hand side of the keyboard.
That's a bold statement.
I wish numpads were on the left-hand side of keyboards, because my mouse is where my mouse wants to be where the numpad is on every single keyboard.
Okay, yeah, I'll give you that. I wish I don't have it as an example. However, I had. By the way, there's a couple of people in the chat who are asking me to change to the this microphone. I'll do that in just a sec. I'm just going to finish what I'm saying. And also, Glenn Roberts. Hello, guys. Thank you very much for the £5. How you doing? I had a keyboard. It was a Logitech keyboard set. I can't remember the model number. However, it was it was a split keyboard and numpad. And let me see if I can find.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
no, I won't bother
I
finding a
have
picture of it.
seen things
Yeah.
like that, yes.
And the two of them, they don't clip together, but the bodies are exactly the same height and depth kind of thing. So you can put them exactly together, or you can have them slightly apart, or you could put the numpad over on the left, or you could just have the numpad separately. And the numpad actually had a little screen on it, so it doubled up as a calculator as well. And when it wasn't in calculator mode, it showed you the date and time. And it was just, and that was a really, really cool set. It was quite expensive. Unfortunately, the keyboard died in a tragic accident. But I still have the numpad. It was in a car when it happened.
Was it the Clio?
I've never owned a Clio. How dare you?
What wasn't it? Wasn't that one? Wasn't it? Oh, okay. Was it a 206?
It was the white GTB that died in Manchester.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Oh.
But yeah. So unfortunately, that keyboard is kill. But yeah, it was a really good keyboard and mouse set, and it was very interesting, and it was one of those ones where you're just like, this is a really good idea. Why don't more people do this? But obviously, I suppose the answer to that is that you've got two products to make instead of one.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
That's the bottom line.
And I don't think enough people care enough to spend the extra money on it. I feel like the vast majority of people could just actually have a 10 keyless keyboard and not notice a difference.
Balls. Stand by.
And it recovered.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure. Are we still live? There we go. Yeah, I was going to say all I did was change microphones around.
What?
Yeah.
Good job, YouTube.
I don't know why that upset it. I mean, maybe it was because I changed the microphone in Discord, so Discord interrupted stuff. But yeah,
maybe.
At any rate, we're on the Rig 800 microphone. I haven't actually listened to any playback from this thing. Yeah, I haven't actually listened to this talk. I have no idea what this sounds like.
Nowhere near as bad as I was expecting.
Yeah. I see. I can't provide any input to this tool.
With a tiny bit of like filtering, I think you could tweak it and make it better.
Yeah, I mean,
not filtering, like
obviously for the people who are saying, oh, it sounds a bit tinny kind of thing. Remember, there's no way this will stack up against a condenser microphone. That's not a fight it's going to win.
Yeah, I think YouTube just went. Everyone is now watching it 3600.
Oof.
No, 360p. There we go. Numbers are hard. But yeah, I think with the actual microphone, you could add effects into OBS to make it less egregious.
Yeah,
it needs EQing ever so slightly off of the top end because I think it's slightly sharp. But other than ever so slightly knocking that down, I don't think anyone would have any actual complaints. It doesn't sound like the hot mess that wireless headphones were 10 years ago.
Yeah, like my creative headset. My creative headset, you have to eat the microphone for it to pick anything up at all, and the dynamic range on it is that, basically. It's like when you're not speaking, the volume bar is at a third. When you are speaking, it's at half. So you're just like, you've got that much to play with, and the noise floor is that far away from your active zone. It's horrific. I'm going to switch back now.
Okay,
right, we're back on the stream, and I might break the stream again.
We shall see. We shall see.
There we go. If that breaks the stream, if it starts buffering again, if it starts buffering again, what is happening is because I'm going into Discord and changing my input, Discord is trying to take control of all the inputs on the computer for a moment, which might have been what pissed it off.
It looked like that time it did it more gracefully. So we shall see. But yes, I think the auto mode for Discord,
wet the bed.
YouTube stream quality thing basically just goes, you're now at 360p sort of thing. So yeah, manually set yourself back to 1080p and it should fix that.
Heard. Or are we at 1080p? Yeah, we do stream at 1080. Yeah. For a minute, I was just like, I don't know what resolution we're at, to be honest. There we go.
We are streaming at 1736p because
yeah. Oh no, 938 I think is where it's at these days. But yeah, I don't know. It seems to work.
I don't know.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway. Right. So yes, that's my point. I think I will do a review of these just because I want to do more reviews of stuff. Like, part of me is just like, well, it's not exactly a new product. You know, this headset's been around for a while, but I do want to get into the review circuit. And also,
absolutely.
it's for me, it's always just a matter of reviewing products where I've got one of them where I have something as a daily runner that does the same thing, so I can actually give an objective comparison as to how good it is versus something else I own.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it would also be good to ask Corsair, if you can, for like, is it the K60? M65? I can't remember. Whatever their brand new
the newer
wireless
ones.
headset is, the replacement for the Void, effectively.
Yeah, I could do. It's probably worth me actually trying to talk to Corsair again, you know, because I don't think.
Also, do you want to give me some fans?
Well, maybe, yeah. I probably should try talking to Corsair. Previously, I haven't bothered because the last time I had the opportunity to talk to Corsair at EGX, it was a matter of I was walking around with 5,000 subscribers in my pocket, and it was like sort of, yeah, no one really wanted to work with me there. I was too small, and it was just a case of just asking for free stuff. Whereas now it's a case, now I've actually got some numbers, even though numbers do not equal quality content, it's still enough to actually catch people's attention and for them to actually feel like there is enough of an audience for it to be worthwhile on their part. But yeah.
But also just the fact of, I don't know, it feels like the start of some really dumb YouTube sponsored video thing. I lit my entire set using only Corsair fans. See what you can do with Corsair nodes.
No, we're not going down that route. Yeah.
16 million colors. Something.
Yeah. Sean said, test the battery and range. Yes, I do need to do that because these apparently have a 24-hour battery versus the 12-hour battery of the Corsair Void, which is, you know, apparently it's double the runtime, which is quite a bold statement. So yeah, we'll see if that holds up.
Given that it has no RGB, that will help out as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Just because I was just going to say the newest Void headset I've dealt with, it had a runtime of about 10 hours out of the box.
Yeah.
With all the RGB on and all of the features. Turning the RGB off, it lasted like 2 days.
Really?
Of like 8 hours ish, so probably about 16 hours, but with like an 8-hour pause.
Yeah. Okay.
So there was a small bit of soul recovery.
Even still, that's like I have never experimented with. I don't bother turning the RGB off because you have to run IQ in order to turn off the RGB, which fucks me off. But whatever.
Because it turns on automatically.
Yeah, it's on by default. So you have to run the software to tell it not to use the RGB. Which is the only reason why I have the RGB on my Void headset anyway. However, I've never bothered turning it off because I didn't think, because it's only 2 LEDs in the Corsair Void. It's just one in each side. They do it on a single LED. Yeah, the new ones might be different, but the set that I have is just a single LED per cup. And I'm like, come on, that's what 30 milliamp, 20 or 30 milliamps tops. It can't be using that much power, you know. However, if it makes a difference, it makes a difference.
Yeah,
I also want to quickly.
Certainly on the. Sorry, you go.
Yeah, I was going to say. I just want to say as well. Back there, Dana. Dana said I would much prefer to watch repair and troubleshooting videos than reviews. There will always be repairs and troubleshooting. It's just I want to make more content. However, repairs and troubleshooting videos, those will always be a thing on this channel. So yeah, it won't become a review channel. That's not part of the plan.
Just possibly a case of maybe 1 week you end up putting out 2 videos.
I want to be on 2 videos a week, like clockwork. So that will be the plan. But yes, as you were saying.
Yes. The newest one, I think it was the 7.1 Pro Doobry blah 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 edition. with all of the stuff. So it was whatever the newest version was last year. So yes, it was that. So possibly they've changed it quite dramatically.
Yeah,
because,
fair enough.
it needs even more RGBness. Because it certainly looked, because you could apply different color zones to each cup in the software. So I presume that requires several LEDs to be able to do that. Because you could have different parts of a cup be different colors.
Yeah.
So to me, infers you need different ones. But yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, all right, fair enough. Apparently you're a little bit quiet as well, by the way, so you might need to up your input or move a little bit closer to the microphone. I can't turn you up any further. Caradog leans into the mic. And also, for people who are saying that it's a microphone positioning issue, it's not. We proved this last week. Caradog's microphone is actually in the right place. Let's see. What would cause a CPU to top out on a clean build with all Windows updates and drivers installed?
There you go.
What, just CPU just sitting at 100%? Well, go to Task Manager and see what's at 100%. Yeah, check the details basically, and something will be saying it's at 100%.
Yes, the only time that doesn't help is when you're doing stuff with like hypervisor and things like that, but you'll know that you're doing that.
Yeah, so, that's true. Are you using Zoom to broadcast, or does YouTube have an app? We're broadcasting from OBS on my computer, and Caradog and I are in a Discord video call to get Caradog's video. We do need to, it's on my list to experiment with other methods to get Caradog's video over here, because Discord does mangle Caradog's video. However, I have not had time to sort that out because I've been moving shop and stuff. But yeah, uninstall Windows. Oh no. So yes, that's the current setup. Speaking of the current setup, yeah, my microphone isn't at its best today because everything is very boomy in here. The new, I guess this is a studio now. The new studio currently is effectively an empty room, and we have a tiled floor and empty walls. So like when we first started the call, and I was just like, okay, sound check. Caradog was just like, yeah, you sound like you're standing in a cave, kind of thing.
It sounds like you're in an empty room.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's because I more or less am. So yeah, it's like I was going to put the old circuit boards on the back wall and stuff like that. However, I have suspicion that I might go full YouTuber and just sound deadening the walls basically. I need to see how much at least cheap stuff costs. I'm not like, I know that.
I wonder how much you could get away with just using like, the shredded cardboard.
Yeah.
The crinkle shredded cardboard, just using that.
Yeah.
Because it's lumpy.
I'm sure that someone out there will be like, oh, you want to get this stuff? It's what the professionals use, and it's probably £100 per square meter or something like that. However, I'm sure if I jump on Amazon and just search for insulation tiles or something like that, I'll be able to get like a dozen for £20, and I'll just buy a load of boxes of those and just heckin' tile the wall, and then maybe I can mount the circuit boards on top of that. That would work. That'd look funky as well. But yeah,
absolutely. I know that DIY Perks has got a video about doing it on the cheap.
Oh, does he? Oh, I'll have to have a look at that. Yeah,
there's an option there.
Yeah, because I
think he uses just fabric in a wooden frame and then like stuffs it with something. From memory, I haven't watched it in a while.
That would work. Beware of the cheap stuff, and you hear it's flammable. Good point. Yeah, that's a very good point. That's definitely worth looking out for.
Oh God, yeah, that's an entirely different rant.
Yeah, although
horrific fire safety ratings.
Yeah, although that much being said, anything that's homemade would probably be flammable as well. So that's going to be.
Well, it depends what you're making it from, doesn't it?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, but yeah, don't know. I'll have to have a ponder. In the meantime, I also need to get a new mic stand anyway. I said I was going to get a new mic stand when I moved into the shop, and here we are. So I need to get a new mic stand because at the moment the mic currently sits on a stupid little tripod thing, and it's just a rigid mount. It's not even a shock mount. So yeah, and I need to get it on a boom arm. And the advantage to that as well is the initial way of solving this problem is just to lower the input volume on the microphone and move it closer to my mouth, because that cuts out the surroundings. However, that just sucks to do at the moment because I'm on this stupid little tripod mount, which is it's just in the way wherever you put it. This setup is not practical for actually recording a repair video. Whereas if I had it on a boom arm, then I can obviously just have that swing out to here-ish or just off a shot or whatever. So, yeah, there's lots of options for it.
Yeah. Also have now got the space and stuff to actually experiment with different types of microphone.
Yes, that's true. Or, of course, I could go lapel mic or lavalier. What's the difference between a lapel mic and a lavalier mic? Are they the same thing?
I don't know. I don't know enough about them.
Yeah. But I should probably do that because if I got a wireless lavalier mic as well, then obviously that just means that I've just got a microphone on me, and if I buy a wireless one, it can still plug into the computer, so it doesn't affect it doesn't affect me, but it gives me wireless freedom on the microphone. And because I can just have the mic on my shirt or wherever, I have options, and that would probably do it. And yeah, decent lav mics seem to be very good quality. Certainly lots of other YouTubers have them and they seem to be great. So yeah.
Absolutely. I think it's partially just a case of, obviously, once you start getting into the wireless stuff on that front, there's a lot more cost.
Yeah, I'm expecting
one of these is £30-40 you can get away with, whereas a wireless one of them, you're looking at a couple of £100.
Yeah, I would be expecting to have to pay, £300 or £400 for a wireless lav setup, which would be about which would suck, but it's kind of a case of this is the point. We are funded now, so I'm looking to get professional gear. Maybe not. I'm not saying studio gear because obviously that's thousands. That's unreasonable costs. However, it's enough that it's a case of, if there is a piece of equipment that I need to do a better job, then it's a case of, fine, we're going to get one of those then, because that's the right tool for the job,
Yeah, so, absolutely. And I think that's where everything has sort of grown to, is that you are now at the point where you can go, I'm buying this because it is the right thing for the job. Yeah. This is the right piece of equipment to use for this job, so I might as well use it.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. Because same goes with cameras as well. Because as I say, at some point I need to get an actual camcorder or cinema camera setup, and a tripod to put it on and stuff like that. So there will be costs in that, but this is stuff that's going to be happening going forward now. So
yes, absolutely. The slow evolution and upgrade.
Yes.
Obviously, the other thing you can do is make videos about all of the stuff and just kind of compare it to what you're creating now.
Yes.
To the then comparison of using the other piece and just kind of going, is it actually any different?
Yeah.
If you're just taking out the box and doing it, or do you need to also change the settings and actually use it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, as I say, it's a case of there's plenty to go from already. I mean, and things are starting to improve already. Straight away with this setup, I've got another pair of lights on me now, whereas previously I've got the same two key lights that I always use that are in front of me, but I've got another pair of the same lights now behind me, and these ones have got a natty little remote for them as well. They're just a model up. And as I say, that's given me a lot of backlighting, which if I turn those off, the camera just compensates for it. Okay, well, that didn't make any difference on the preview. However, as I say, in the room and on the desk, it makes a big difference. So that's all the start of it.
The other benefit, obviously, is just the fact that if you've got light coming from more than one place, shadows will be less annoying.
Yes, indeed. And yeah, I think the other thing as well is that just there's a bit more room for these key lights to work, because I was expecting when I turned these off for it to kill the highlights in my hair. However, I've got these two key lights mounted significantly higher, than they previously were, which
That's
that is allowing them to do a better job as well. So,
yeah.
Right, let's see.
It's amazing what you can do just with having more space.
Yes, absolutely. And of course, now I'm here as well, I can actually visualize stuff because, there's lots of theories on what we were going to do. And I was like, oh, yeah, we'll think about it when I get in the new shop. It's like, now I'm here and I've got stuff set up. I know what I need. And I'm figuring it out. Like, right now, I've got wires strung everywhere. And that's something that will not be a permanent fixture because I'm like, no, I'm not having wires to trip over. That's a no-no. But I'm not plumbing anything in because I know that I'm going to keep wanting to move stuff and being like, this isn't quite right. I'll move it to here. And I'm going to be fettling and stuff. So there's no point in plumbing anything in and making all the wires nice and tidy because I'm just going to rip it all out again in a week anyway. So yes. Have I fully moved or am I in the middle? I would say I'm fully moved because Tuesday morning I will walk to this shop and I will open in this shop and I will be fixing computers in this shop. The new shop, that is. So as far as I'm concerned, that means I've moved. I have all of my tools here now. I've got everything I need to do my job in the new shop. There's still lots of bits and pieces that need to be picked up from the old shop, but that's stuff that'll happen over time. So I would say it has happened, but the reality is it will take months before the new shop is done, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
And it's still very scruffy as well. Like most of the tables in here are just trestle tables. And like that's not a permanent thing. They look scruffy. I don't like them, but they serve a purpose. They are there because it was a cheap way to get just instant surfaces in this room. So,
absolutely.
So yes. Right. Let's talk about some tech. I reckon. Someone else earlier on, where was it?
I was going to say, have you seen about NVIDIA's apparently trying to, stop people using the 3060 for mining?
Yeah, this is interesting.
And yeah, I'm very interested in the fact that they've kind of gone, oh, we need to appear to be doing something.
Yeah, I think that is the key word here. We need to appear to be doing something because. For those of you who haven't heard this, NVIDIA have said now that they're going to nerf mining on the 3060. They're going to reduce the effective hash rate by like 50%, which will make the card just not viable for mining. And they will sell a mining version of it. So that means that the miners will no longer be buying up all of the stock. They can only buy up the stock of the mining versions of the card. Yeah. However, it's not entirely clear exactly how this is going to be done. So there's lots of speculation on this that it will be done via a driver mod or in BIOS or both. But the problem is it's a case of if it's not a physical change on the card or if it's not a physical change on the GPU, then it can be cracked, is the theory.
Yeah. I think it's a case of it depends on how difficult it is to sidestep them. If it's sufficiently difficult enough to sidestep them that the man in the street can't do it, the 3060s that are getting into retail channels anyway won't matter. If it's a case that it's very easily circumvented, then the man on the street will still be able to use it, and it will still get the ones that reach the retail channel will still get bought by people who use mining. But it's in a sense that I'd imagine it's not really going to have much of effect on the stock in the retail channels anyway.
Yeah,
because the people who are buying mining cards for mining in a sufficient volume to have any effect on stock are buying them direct from ball partners and stuff like that and saying, I want 100 of these cards, I want 500 of these cards, and I will spend $900 equivalent on a 3070 times 50 sort of thing. It's a case of it's a completely different scale, and it's kind of a case of going, you're not
Yeah.
really going to combat that by going to the person who's buying a single GPU and sort of mining on it once or twice in the background kind of thing.
I was going to say, because also a couple of people in the chat have said, sort of, oh, it's just going to, it's just punishing people who wanted to buy a card and then do a little mining on the side to recover the costs of the card. And at one point, I'd have said, why are you bothering to mine on a single card? But the thing is, prices on crypto are so bonkers right now that that's actually viable again. You know?
Absolutely.
So it's a case of, that's actually a good point. So yeah, this does seem like, I mean, the problem is, the way I'm coming at this from is that it's very easy to criticize Nvidia and be like, this isn't helping. But on the flip side, I really dislike criticizing unless I can think of a better solution. So it is kind of a case of like, you know, this isn't helping. Well, what would you be doing to sort out the supply issues? But then on the other hand, you know, we already know the answer to that is that this is something that we've just got to wait out. And in the meantime, they're going to try and start production on old cards, which we talked about last week. So yeah, I don't know.
It's difficult because it's almost every part of the supply chain and manufacturing chain is affected in some way by shortages. So yeah. Almost all parts of almost all supply chains are affected in some fashion. So yeah, it's a problem.
And I genuinely, I can't see them being able to implement this anti-mining lock in any way that is not easily circumventable with a BIOS flash. I don't think. Like, because the only it's got to be something really easy, like a modified BIOS and maybe something on the card, but it's just like people, even if they've made a slight tweak on the card, like there's a different resistor in a certain place or something, people will figure it out. And it's just like DRM on a video game at that point. They'll figure it out, and once they have, it'll be completely useless, and there would have been no point in implementing it at all. And all it's doing is making the common man's life more difficult. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So who knows? But I feel like it's one of those things where unfortunately just the only real solution is all of the kinks in the supply chain being ironed out.
Yeah.
All of the substrate issues being avoided. All of that stuff. That's the only way it's really going to happen. You know, international freight picking up in volume again, stuff like that. So I don't know. The only thing I can really see that would make any sort of difference is if somehow Nvidia could make it so none of their drivers work at all for mining in any operating system.
Yeah.
But then obviously there'll be all of the old drivers that people have downloaded and have those ones. So it's kind of, I don't know. It's basically the only way you're going to fix that issue and say, oh, miners aren't allowed graphics cards, even though they're equally legitimate as customers as anyone else, is by going, our drivers don't work for mining, and somehow block it all out. But then, if you do that, does that also mean that SETI at home doesn't work? Bionics doesn't work? Folding at home doesn't work?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Is folding at home a legitimate reason for people to buy 2 graphics cards? Because you're curing cancer or Alzheimer's?
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of a case of, does it make a difference?
It has been on my mind because I saw another headline recently that's related to this where someone, I can't remember who it was, but someone, it might have been Amazon or something like that. They said that mining operations on their cloud computing system accounted for 50% of their power consumption. Or it might have been even higher than that. It was a horrifying number. You know, like they basically said that people who are running mining on our cloud computing service account for a insert horrifying percentage of our power consumption. And it was very much a case, you know, like to the point where it's just like, what? That's not on. This is ridiculous. And you know that it was the kind of numbers that would that evoked the reaction in the comments of, just ban mining, because we're just burning electricity at this point.
Yeah,
it
absolutely.
literally is just burning electricity
I
for
think
people to make a quick buck on a bubble,
But I think that's my biggest issue with cryptocurrencies in general, is just how infeasible as a payment processing method they are,
Yeah.
given the fact that Bitcoin at maximum throughput can deal with, I think it was 2,500 transactions a second.
Okay, yeah.
Visa and MasterCard deal with 2 million transactions a second.
Yeah. So it's not, yeah. I mean,
and it's just kind of a case of,
could it be scaled up? But wow,
no, it's been intentionally limited to that number.
Yeah.
You'd have to remake the coin, as far as I understand the maths. You'd have to basically remake the coin to make it operate faster, which then means that all of the old coins people have are non-compatible.
Yeah.
Or you make them compatible, but some transactions are faster than others.
Yeah.
So does that then mean that people suddenly get disadvantaged by buying an old version of the same coin?
Yeah.
This weird two-tier system on a currency.
Yeah. That's certainly just, it's not viable there. I don't know. This is what keeps me away from crypto, to be honest, because again, it's just, I get it, really, I do, but I really don't think it's this miracle currency that a lot of people make it out to be, where people are just like, one day we'll all be paying for everything using just cryptocurrencies. And it's like, there are ideas that are very attractive from it, but at the same time, I just can't see it happening, because also, like, lots of people are just like, it's decentralized, it's not under government control and stuff like that. And it's just like, they'll make it under government control. And if you think they can't or they won't, then you are hilariously naive, Yeah, they'll find a way. Because the only way to avoid it is to do business in the middle of the international ocean.
Well,
I suppose they could do that, but...
Well, it's a case that they can't control the coin, but obviously they can control the human elements involved with it.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah,
it's kind of a case that you can obviously very easily control the human element. You scare people, you threaten people, you threaten them with long prison sentences and large fines and all of this stuff for dealing with it.
Yes.
So it's kind of, it's kind of a case of, you don't necessarily have to be able to control the currency. You just need to be able to control the people who are physically within the borders.
Yeah, at some point there has to be access. It's the same issue that, of course, it's the same issue that the Tor network has. Is that if all of the exit nodes of the Tor network are blocked, then it's not a lot of good unless you're inside talking to someone else inside. At some point, you need an exit to talk to the rest of the world, and it's the same with crypto. At some point, until you get to a point where you can do everything in daily life with crypto, at some point you have to be able to cash out. And the government can still control the point where you cash out, because that has to be someone dealing with a government-controlled currency. So,
Absolutely. So it's kind of a case of, you need to... You don't need... from the point of control, you don't obviously need to control the things. You just need to control the people who are using the things. So...
Yeah. But in the meantime, I mean... Don't get another thing as well is, like, don't get me wrong, all this, I'm not being anti-crypto or anything, and to an extent, I see a lot of people who are in a position to make a crap ton of money, and to be honest, good for you. It was the same with GameStop. It's just like, that's a bubble, however, a lot of people have probably made a lot of money on that, and good hustle, man, well done. However, it's like, I think this is always just a matter of this is always the way things go, is when something gets big, people go all in and they're like, this is the future, this is how it's going to work, I'm now pro in this. And it's like, no, you're riding a rocket, and at some point that rocket has to explode. Now, if you know exactly when to jump off and get onto the next rocket, That's how you make money. However, there's a lot of people who just don't realize that that rocket is going to explode, and either they stay on it indefinitely, or they're not knowledgeable enough to know when to jump, and they get exploded. And yeah, this is the same with people who go all in on YouTube or all in on Twitch, and then, or like the classic story of the Twitch streamer who gets banned and is then doing a sob story on Twitter going, oh, my livelihood, I'm not going to be able to make money. And it's just like, you went all in on one platform. You put all your eggs in one basket. What's wrong with you? What were you thinking? What's your backup plan? And it's the same here. It's just, I think that's the thing is, when I talk about these topics and I sound like I'm skeptic, it's because a lot of people, when talking about it, don't sound like they have a backup plan. A lot of people, it sounds to me like they don't actually know what they're going to do when the rocket explodes. And yeah, like if you're in on it and you know exactly when you're going to jump off, that's fine. And the same here. I'm trying to ride a YouTube rocket right now. That's exactly what I'm trying to do. I'm on a rocket and it's the YouTube rocket, but I'm on this knowing that at some point I will have to jump off of it. So the trick is just to be able to make sure I'm looking up and I'm seeing exactly how long I can hold on for before I've got to jump to the next thing. And at some point that will happen. There's not a doubt in my mind. At some point that will happen. And the trick is just knowing when to jump.
Yeah, is knowing where to kind of be. And it's also just a case of having more than one interest as well, having more than one passion. Passions don't have to make you money. They just need to be something that entertains you and something for you want to do.
Yeah, especially because the job kills the hobby, doesn't it?
It certainly reduces the excitement, I think, is the case. But yeah, just kind of a case of you want to make sure you have more than one thing that you can do and want to do. Because it's a terrible situation to end up in where you only have a single thing you want to do, and then you can't do that thing, so you suddenly go, I literally have nothing in my life I want to do, kind of thing. And it can be very sort of depressive. And it's just like, I mean that very much from a sort of just a well-being point of view, not a good financial sense point of view, but
agreed. And like even if nothing else, just something that you can take a break from one hobby for, so if your passion, if your passion is computers and stuff like that, another passion might be reading books, films, cars, something like that. So when you have that day where you're just like, I'm sick of fixing computers at the moment. Like I have like, this is the reason why my computer at home generally has a problem with it at any given time, is that when I come home from work, I've spent all day fixing computers. The last thing I want to do is start troubleshooting my computer. I mean, there are some days where obviously, you take pleasure in doing work on your own system and getting it just the way you like it, but don't always want to do that. And so it's that's the thing, is there are some days where you just need to be like, I need something else to be able to do, even if and you switch off of it for a bit and you'll come back fresh and you'll be ready to do it again. So it's not that the job kills the hobby, it just fatigues the hobby, perhaps.
Yeah, absolutely. And in a case of, but also just a case of it's useful being multifaceted, and it's good to have more than one interest to actually make you an interesting person that other people want to know.
Yeah.
It's a problem with being very two-dimensional.
Yeah, that's true. Right. Let's. I'm just going to scan back through the chat again. Marco, welcome to the channel. Thank you very much for joining Tier 1 there. Much appreciated. Hello, Paige. By the way, I saw you there. And generally speaking, most of what people have been saying, yes, absolutely. The various stocks that have been ups and downs, and yeah, I saw that some people lost out a lot, and some people lost big time in that. You've got to know what you're getting into, and some people don't.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of chat about CPUs as well. There was someone who asked earlier on about whether they should buy a Ryzen 3900 or hold out for 5000 stock. It's remind me again, which is single thread performance. What was the 5600X going toe to toe with again? Was it the equivalent to a 3800 or a 3900?
Well, don't forget that obviously the single core performance between a 3600, 3600X, 3700, 3700 XT is identical.
Yes. Okay. True. Sorry. That question was phrased poorly.
It's not like Intel where you're arbitrary locked to performance tiers.
Yeah. On account that the 5600X is not that difficult to get hold of at the moment in the shortages, or at least it's one of the easier ones to get hold of.
Yeah. Like the fact that Curry's just posted they have stock.
Yeah. Exactly.
Today.
Obviously, the question is, it's a case of, if you're considering getting like if you wanted a 3800 or a 3900, how high up the 3000 series do we have to go to match a 5600X?
What, multi-core equivalent?
Sure. To say that this is just as good.
I don't know specifically, but I know I did the comparison for Handbrake between my 2700X and a 5600X and multi-threaded Handbrake.
Yeah.
On the 5600X was something like 25% faster. Even though it's got 2 fewer cores and 4 fewer threads.
Oh, yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
So I'm just like, even in a multi-threaded workload, the 5600 was that much faster. Admittedly from 2 core versions prior, but still just the fact of even with that core deficit and thread deficit, on something that scales well. Oh dear, something that scales well across threads, certainly up to 16 threads anyway.
I'm just trying to pull up the Gamers Nexus review just so I can check it. Mute. Right, let's see. Oh, that's Photoshop. Let's just go to a couple of games. So Division 2 gaming performance. So
for gaming performance, the 5600 will be faster.
Yeah, the 5600 destroys everything in gaming performance. So this is the thing, is if you're building. So okay, there we go. That's basically the numbers I was looking for to make my point. Is if you're building a gaming computer and you're like, I can't find a 5700X or a 5800X. Should I settle for a 3000? The answer to that is no. Get a 5600X instead. Because the 5600X is a wrecking machine in games. If you were doing productivity or something like that, it might not be as clear cut as that. But even still, the 5600 is just such a wild CPU. Just like it's. I mean, the 39. Yeah. So when you get into like Blender and stuff like when you get into Blender and that kind of area and rendering, the higher end 3000 series CPUs will still demolish it just because of core and thread count. However, for gaming, if you're building a gaming rig, the 5600X destroys all. It's a wrecking machine. So if you can't find the 5800X that you want for bragging rights because you don't want the bottom end chip, if you see what I mean, don't be afraid. Just get the 5600X.
Yeah,
I think is where I want to go with that.
The interesting comparison is that the 5600 to the 3800, the 5600 is faster in Handbrake still.
Oh, really?
Even inside only one generation uptick. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was just looking at Gamers Nexus, who were looking at like Photoshop, Blender, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But Handbrake is a valid comparison because, well, I don't know. Handbrake is only relevant to me because I use it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But I'm just saying, in certain multi-threaded workloads, it will still be faster, even though it's got 2 fewer cores and 4 fewer threads, and it's only a single generation.
Yeah.
So it's still a case of there's a huge uptick. Cinebench R20 Multi-Threaded, you're looking at 4,500 for the 5600 and 4,900 for a 3800 XT. So the fastest 3800s are what, 12% faster in Cinebench Multi-Threaded with 4 extra threads.
Yeah.
With 50% more threads.
Yeah, and that's a case of considering that the 5600X will then demolish those chips in gaming performance. It's a case of, well, yeah. I'll take the 10% lower performance in certain productivity tasks in order for it to be faster in literally everything else. Because this is kind of the problem that Intel were having in. This is a bit of a generalization, but this is kind of the problem that Intel were having versus the 3000 series, is that in games, Intel was at the top end were faster by a couple of FPS, and they were being like, sort of, it's still faster in games. It's like, yes, but the Ryzen 3000 will destroy it in literally everything else. So you still get the Ryzen anyway, because you sacrifice that little bit of performance in order to have faster performance everywhere else. So that's something that people often don't consider, is beware of cherry picking numbers. We can certainly find numbers where a certain CPU is faster, but if it's basically, it's the old adage, a jack of all trades is better than a master. Sorry, was it a jack of all trades better than master of none? No, I've completely forgotten it.
A jack of all trades is better than a master of one.
Yes, but better than being a master of none is the extra bit. Yeah. So it's kind of a case of, if you're doing a very specific task, then buy the CPU for that task. However, also keep in mind that there are lots of things that you might be doing with your computer. I kind of fumbled that whole bit, but whatever. Someone else also just asked about the 1600 AF versus 3600. Curious about that.
1600 AF is basically a 2600.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
It is a 2600 with a different name.
Yeah. Let's see. 3600. Oh, this is a really big chart. Where's the 3600 on it? Yeah, you would get an upgrade going to a 3600. But you would get an upgrade going to a 3600, but I'm not convinced it's worth the cost. I would be wanting a bigger upgrade to open my wallet on. If you're going to a 5600X, no contest.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, if you've got a 1600 AF, because like the 3600, that's selling for like £200, £220 still, isn't it?
Yeah, saying that.
Yeah, so
I don't know personally,
I would, if I had a 1600 AF, I would keep saving my pennies for a 5600X, which will almost certainly, as long as you don't have a really old Mobo. I mean, if you've got to upgrade your motherboard to support a Ryzen 5000 series, then that's kind of different, I guess. But yeah, it depends what you've got, I guess. So, let's see. Thanks for the advice on the graphics card, the 1070. You're enjoying it. Good stuff. Glad to hear it. I still like the 1070. I think it's quite viable at the moment. So that's fine.
Absolutely. Yes, although the 1600 AF is £150. So if you're buying brand new, the 1600 AF is £150, supposedly. The 2600X is £169. And then the 3600X is £276.
Yeah. Oh, well, the 1600 AF, that's fairly good bang for buck. If you're doing a budget gaming build, 1600 AF, that's viable, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's
it's
good to go.
It's Zen Plus, but still, it's good enough.
Yeah.
And it's a decent price. It's currently apparently the cheapest AMD Zen processor available in the UK.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So yeah,
it's also cheap and something that you would actually potentially want to own. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You can get the 3600 non-X for £180.
Oh, 180. That's a good price.
Yeah.
Yeah, 180 is a good price. I thought they were going higher than that. The 3600X is one of those, like, no one's quite sure why that CPU exists. It doesn't really need to exist.
Yeah, it was the launch version,
Yeah.
effectively, with the higher TDP and the fractionally higher boosts.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got 200 megahertz more on the boost and 200 megahertz more on the base clocks.
Yeah.
So if you're hammering multi-threaded stuff, it might do slightly better just because it's got fractionally higher base clock.
It's
so
it's only worth it if,
down to.
yeah, it's kind of only worth it if the price gap is like 20 or 30 pounds though. Right now, the price gap, with a price gap of nearly £100, it's like, no, £100 for another 200 megahertz ain't worth it by a long shot.
No, absolutely not.
Demny BS. Sorry, I'm going to cut in for things, keep up with things. Demny BS, thank you for the $5. Am I going to hang the PCBs up on the wall again? Somehow, yes. We had a conversation earlier on about soundproofing, because I need to sound deaden this room. Because at the moment, I've tweaked the mic to try and reduce it, but the echo is real in here. We've got horrifying echo in this room at the moment, and I need to deal with that. However, I will try and get the PCBs on top of the sound deadening somehow. I would like to do that. That's definitely something I want to do, because also having that nice background will be familiarity for people as well. So it'll be something along those lines.
I've just looked at the Amazon listing for the Ryzen 5 1600 AF. Apparently, it is a Core i7 6600U with 2 processors and a cache size of 1.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Good job, Amazon.
with its platform being Windows.
Oh, Amazon, why is the Amazon search so bad? I guess it's because people put their own listings up or something, isn't it?
But yeah, this is like the product description bit, and I'm just like,
yeah.
Apparently, further down in the description, if you look at it, it's actually Red Hat Linux. It's just like, what? I don't know where we are or what's going on here, but okay. Oh wow! Apparently, you can get it for £99 off of Amazon right now.
What, 1600 AF?
Yeah.
Huh. That's a good CPU to have kicking about, isn't it? If you're in the habit of having multiple computers lying around, but
maybe
I don't know. It's Zen Plus though. See, the problem is
I get double check what the CPU support list is like.
Yeah, that's just it. Although that much being said, I'm less bothered about having, like, during the Zen 2 to 3, during the Ryzen 2000 to 3000 crossover, I was doing a crap ton of BIOS flashing for people who are upgrading. However, now basically all the new motherboards have got BIOS flashback on them, or chipless flash or blind flash or whatever you want to call it. So suddenly having a spare CPU isn't something you really need to worry about anymore. Either way, I've got a Ryzen 3600 on hand. Well, it's not on hand, it's on loan at the moment, but I'll be getting that back soon. And I'm sort of kind of sitting around trying to decide whether I want to sell it or whether I'm going to keep it.
Yeah. Oh dear. I've just noticed that someone's trying to sell an 1800X for £315.
Oh yeah, that's just that's weird stuff with old prices that start going up, and you're just like, why? Just fire sale this, get rid of it. It's obsolete.
You can buy right now in stock for delivery a 5600X from Box for £330.
330.
Or CCL for £330, Scan for £335, eBuy for £343, Aria for £350. So various places have stock, but you're looking at £330 to £360 basically.
Yeah, £330 is a good price because you know it's one of those cases of these things are available. They keep popping up. They're not that hard to get if you go looking. However, they are sufficiently difficult to get that you could see people bumping up the price a little bit. However, $330 is a fair price for the UK anyway. That's £330 for those of you playing along at home.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's
I think that's a reasonable cost. I mean, that's how much I bought the one that I've got sitting around. At some point, the computer build I did just before Christmas, I need to get on the phone to that client and say, bring it back in here. I've got your 5600X. We've got to swap the CPUs. because he's got my 3600 and I need to put his 5600X in. I've got the chip on hand. I just need to get him back in the shop.
Give it back.
Yeah. Well, it's in his interest too because it's going to double the CPU horsepower of his computer. So, yeah.
Yeah. It's possibly also a case of if you're willing to wait for 5600s, and I think it was the 5800s, I can't remember, that Currys were getting. They were selling them spot on the nose of the RRP.
Which is?
280.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. They were selling it right on there. Or it was like £281 or something.
Yeah.
Daft.
Richard just said when Currys get them, they go for 280. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds agreeable as well. Yeah.
So if you're willing to wait for Currys to get them, you can get them right on MSRP. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. I've got to wait and see what I'm doing because, yeah, I need to see what computers I actually need at the moment because certainly I don't need to build any new computers because I've got a couple around for all of my test rigs. However, at least one of them I've sort of decided is not fit for purpose. I had built it up and put it in a new case, but it's an old, like, first or second gen Intel thing, and I was using it for Norton Ghost. However, I've basically decided that I'm done with Norton Ghost because I had a couple of computers where I ghosted the drives and it did not successfully clone the drives, and I was like, yes, this is no longer viable. I don't know what it is. I think it's to do with UEFI or something like that. But either way, it is not correctly cloning these drives. I'm having issues with booting Windows.
I found Norton Ghost version 15 somewhere.
I have got an ancient version.
Yeah, I think I gave you my copy of Norton 15.
I did spot that on the because I've got one of your SSDs with a load of stuff on it.
Yeah.
So
So it might be worth you just trying that newer version, just because it is version 15, which I think was the latest.
That much being said,
so whilst it's still horrifically old, it's dramatically newer than the version you've got.
I have been practicing with Clonezilla, and I've got a love-hate relationship with Clonezilla, but it has been doing the job quite well. I don't like the interface at all. However, it's effective and it's fast, which I like about it as well. I just wish the interface didn't suck. The interface for it is horrific. So yeah, a lot of people saying Acronis and Macrium. I need to have a look at those as well, especially because the reason why I've always strayed away from Acronis and Macrium and stuff is because I wanted software that can do it live, like Snapshot can. However, Clonezilla isn't.
What's wrong with Snapshot for you?
Yeah, Clonezilla isn't live anyway, so that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Snapshot, the issue is Snapshot is really bad at moving from a large drive to a small drive. There are ways to manage it and compensate it. However, now and then, because I'll explain this again for the people who don't know, is that when you have, let's say you've got a hard drive, let's say you've got a 1 terabyte hard drive with 300 gigs of data on it. Because of fragmentation, that 300 gigs of data isn't there. It's actually spread out across the drive. So when you want to take a 1 terabyte volume down to a 500 gigabyte volume, you have to move all of the fragmented data into the top section of the drive. Now, the problem is some of that fragmented data will be the page file, the master file table, system restore points, unmovable files like that. And so the issue is that when you try and condense the volume, it will just turn around and say there's not enough room to do this, which is code for I can't move these files. Now, the offline stuff like Macrium, Acronis, Clonezilla, they don't care about that because they're not inside Windows. They've booted into a Linux environment and they're working out from there. However, if you're trying to do it in a live environment, which has various advantages that I won't go into now, you run into that problem. There are ways to circumvent it. You can clear the system restore points, clear the page file, and you can shrink the volume to shift all of the data. However, just every now and then, that doesn't work. Sometimes there will just be some data stuck out on the end of the drive that just won't budge. and the problem is that it's very easy to waste hours of time trying to move that data when you could have just done it using an offline clone software. So it swings and roundabouts, and I think the trick is the trick I've found is being able to very quickly ascertain if it's going to give you trouble or not. So, because the reason why I like online ones is it makes it very, like for example with Snapshot, basically I pull the drive, let's say I've got a customer laptop, 1 terabyte hard drive, I want to upgrade them to a 500 gig SSD. You pull the drive out, plug it into the workbench, which is running Windows, you snapshot onto the internal drive. Now you have a backup of the customer data. Then you restore onto the SSD and you put the SSD back in their laptop. So that means we've cloned the drive and we backed it up in one movement. The problem with doing, when you say sort of Acronis, Macro and Reflect and stuff like that, is a lot of the time you're doing disk-to-disk transfers and there's no backup at any point in that transaction. And that's one of the disadvantages, is when you're dealing with someone else's data, you want to back up before you start messing around with it. And I know those things can do disk to images and stuff like that as well, but it's just like, yeah, well, Snow can snapshot and I don't have to reboot my computer to do that. So
yeah,
everyone's setup is different. It's whatever you like, but yeah, this is why it's complicated.
It would be interesting to know if it would be possible for you to be able to do both at the same time. So if you have like a 1 terabyte SSD in your machine that you want to use for backups, the drive that you want cloned and the new SSD you want to go to, can you do make image to SSD and clone drive to drive at the same time, one process bar kind of thing? If you could do that, that could possibly be quite useful.
Yeah, that'd be handy. You could certainly script that together. I mean, like, again, it's, as Teltac and a couple of other people are saying, you know, DD is one of the ways forward, because you could just script that with DD really easily. But I need more practice with DD as well, because my issue with DD is it's a command line interface, which means the interface sucks. Fight me. Command line is not as informative. Don't get me wrong, there's a time and a place for it. But the thing is, when I've got an image running, I want to be able to see from across the room. I want to see on the screen a progress bar going across the screen, and stuff like that. And when you've got a command line interface with a font that big on the screen showing your transfer speed and percentage done, I have to keep going over and looking at it and going, okay, it's still going, you know. And yeah, like I said, with something like Snapshot, and to a certain, and I'll get to Clonezilla. With something like Snapshot, I can see from across the room the progress bar and how far it's got. It shows the progress bar for the current partition and the total progress. Then my issue with Clonezilla is Clonezilla only shows you a progress bar for the current operation. So that operation could be the current partition or resizing a partition. So when you see the progress bar, you have no context as to whether that's total completion or just one section and then there's going to be another progress bar. And the worst part of it, which is making me dislike Clonezilla, is success or failure, whichever it is, it will kick you to a screen that then says restart, shut down, continue, or whatever, without telling you anything. It doesn't say whether it completed, it doesn't say whether it failed, it has finished with no information at all. And I'm like, did it work? And like, if you're watching, you can see if it errored out. But I don't watch progress bars. You walk away and you do something else. So that's the problem with Clonezilla, is the interface is garbage. Although that much being said, it does have like an advanced interface and stuff like that. So I need to try looking into those to see if those give me more information. So, or
just any.
Yeah. Teltac says I'm wrong and he dislikes me. Yeah. Fair enough. A decent interface for DD would be wonderful. But then that's probably basically what Clonezilla is doing. I would wager that Clonezilla is basically just DDing. So, yeah.
I'm sure people could easily be persuaded to do something along those lines.
Maybe. In the meantime, at the moment, this week I've been heavily using Snapshot again, and I've been getting on with it. I haven't had any issues. I've had a couple where I've had to shrink the volume, but it's a case of I started the computer up, I deleted the system restore points, I switched off the page file, then I shrunk the volume, and there was no problem with it. And then it just worked. And yeah, it's labor intensive, and you have to know exactly how to work it. It's fiddly and complicated to do. However, that's a better the devil you know thing. So I'm not saying it's better. This is why I still haven't. The reason why I've never made a video about Snapshot is because it's fiddly and there's lots of if this then that's. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah.
Oh wow.
There's also another bit of software that I saw Jay's 2 cents using in a video he made about going to an SSD recently that looked pretty slick. I can't remember the name of it, but I need to look that up as well. So.
Also, I wonder if it's worth looking at, like, because I know Samsung had a hard drive to SSD migration
It only works on Samsung drives.
Really?
Yeah. Unless I'm assuming they haven't changed that, but I tried to use it because loads of people were going, "Oh, can you make a video about the Samsung tool?" And I went to download it and I went to test it, and it was just like, "This isn't a Samsung SSD. You can't use this." I'm like, "Well, I guess I'm not using that then," because I didn't have a Samsung SSD to test with, and I was like, "Why would you do that? Why would who benefits from that?" Surely, I mean, I guess from their point, they're just like, well, that's one of the advantages of paying for a Samsung drive. You get our software support, but that just seems very petty to me.
I guess
that's just very petty as far as I'm concerned. I'm like, yeah, just whatever. Speaking, I was about to say speaking of whatever, but no, not speaking of whatever. Turnip Gaming 97, thank you for joining. Welcome to Tier 1. So
you make it sound like City 17.
Whatever. Yeah.
You have joined Tier 1. The analogy for City 17.
Yeah, Jay did get the coof. I wish him well and his family. I wish him a speedy recovery. Get well soon. Any advice on a 1060 coil noise? This came up in the Discord recently, actually. If it was theoretically possible to fix coil whine.
I think someone said basically try hot snotting it.
Yeah. Someone, I think, I Google searched it, and there were quite a few people that literally said hot snot the just hot glue gun around the
use the actual name.
Yeah, hot glue gun, which is nicknamed hot snot. But yeah. Hot glue gun the inductors so they can't vibrate, basically, which is a really, really ugly solution that I despise. However, if it works and if it's under the cooler so you don't see it.
However, that's what power supply manufacturers do.
That's true. When you open up a power supply, they use stuff called Solastic, which is
they use proper stuff for it.
Yeah,
but
I was going to say, but that's just glorified hot snot. So yeah,
yeah.
But one thing I would love to get my hands on a graphics card with horrifying coil whine that someone doesn't mind me butchering, because I will try and change the inductors on it for different ones.
Or maybe if we could had better stock of graphics cards.
Yeah, that's just it, because I would love to say, Caradog, can I try doing this on your 980? But the problem is that 980 is still a fully functioning and half-decent graphics card, and I'm like, I don't think we really want to try swapping the inductors on that. I don't think that's We need to get like an old Radeon HD 5950 or something. One of the big Radeon HD series that had ridiculous coil whine and is not actually a very good graphics card by modern standards. And because, as I say, inductors they're not complicated. You just need to figure out what the inductance value of them is, which is measured in microhenries. And I'm sure one of the pieces of test equipment I've got in my shop can measure inductance. Maybe the component tester I've got can measure inductance.
This is the point where I now go, oh yes, what is inductance?
Yeah, well, so inductance, for those of you, Okay, so are we going to do a crash course on inductors? Is that what we're doing?
Oh, well, it was very much the case of what is inductance compared to
Hmm.
capacitance, but then I was like, oh yes, inductance is magnetic fields.
Yes. That's the inductors and capacitors. They kind of do the same thing, but no. But
In
both of them
different-
are energy storage devices, but they store energy in different ways and different values, which has a different effect on the circuit.
Yeah.
So thus they do different things. So yeah. Yes. And yeah, on CRTs they use silicon glue on and stuff. Yeah, because CRTs obviously have a big issue with that because high voltage. So yeah.
Doing work on CRTs just does me a concern, just by the fact of how high the voltages are.
I'm scared. I'm scared of CRTs. I've been near them a couple of times, but I used to work way back when. I used to work at a private school, which as the technician there, and they were a nearly all Mac school. Well, all the students were on Macs, and the admin side, so the office staff and stuff were on PCs. But there were about 90 Macs in the school, and a large number of them were eMac G4s and iMac G3s, so CRTs basically. And the eMac G4s, while I was working there, we had a couple of known issues with the power buttons failing. The wire would break off the power button and need to be resoldered. And also the LVDS cable, which is basically the display cable going from the motherboard to the CRT internally. And that required me, so quite a lot of them I was opening them up to replace these things. And so yeah, on the eMac you open it up, and yeah, the CRT electronics are exposed. And yeah, that did me a frighten working on those. And it was luckily the areas that I was working on were not near the high voltage area. So all you had to do is be like, right, the high voltage stuff is on that side of the computer. We put that away from us. We're working on this side. We're working on the non-spicy side. But even still, it's a case of just, yeah, you don't know. Because the problem is like a capacitor in a power supply will give you a belt. You'll know you're alive if you get hit by one of those. But the capacitor in a high voltage power supply on a CRT, I don't know, man, that you can have tens of thousands of volts in those boys. So yeah, fly back in your seat. Oh, got 'em. So yeah, it's just, and I think it's also, I'm also speaking from ignorance there because I don't know much about high voltage CRT stuff. Like computer power supplies, I know enough about how they work to know where the danger is and exactly which parts you can touch and which parts you can't touch. Because there are some people who are just like, you can't open up an ATX power supply, that's dangerous. And I'm just like, it's fine, dude, it's fine. Just don't touch the capacitor when it's been on in the past hour. You're fine. And even if you do, yeah, it's going to give you a belt, but you'll be all right, you know.
Yeah.
However, yeah, CRT stuff, I don't know. I don't know enough about them to know what bits are safe and what bits aren't.
Absolutely, yeah. It's just kind of a case of, yeah, I think that's the point, is there's not enough knowledge, but also there's no reason to have the knowledge now, because it's a case of CRTs were very much replaced a long time ago.
Yeah. This is, of course, a moot point. Yeah.
Specialist in very specialist situations.
Yeah. That much being said, I was watching a video the other day that got me to thinking. But this is just sort of pie in the sky ideas. But I saw in my recommended one a tech moan video about prison tech. And you know, in prisons, everything is all see-through plastic, so you can't hide stuff in it. He had a TV, and because of reasons, for a long time, CRT TVs persisted in prisons. And so he had this rad CRT TV in a completely clear case. Kind of similar, Apple made one at one point. Some of the early Apple Cinema displays were CRT, and it was in a clear case. And of course, you've got like some of the iMac G3s are fairly clear as well. But anyway, he had this clear TV, and he was just like, you know, you could hook up an AV input to this if you modified the input board kind of thing, and you could use it as a really cool retro consoles TV. And I was like, man, that'd be the coolest thing ever.
Other than, I think he also said in the video, it was a really bad TV.
I missed that bit. I was kind of skimming through it.
I think, yeah.
That makes me
terrible.
sad.
You don't actually watch stuff.
God. Yeah.
But yes, as far as I remember, it was actually a reasonably bad TV.
That's a bummer.
Just generally a bit dim and washed out and stuff.
Okay. Scrap that idea then.
Sadly.
Yeah, unless maybe I could look out for one of the old Apple Cinema CRTs. They'd probably go for silly money though, for any of them that are still working.
I would imagine so, yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to quickly whiz through the chat. So, firstly, VA, you're very welcome. I'm glad you... rad to hear that you built your... that your son built his first PC with the videos. That's really cool. That makes me very happy. When anyone who has watched one of my videos, gotten inspired, and done the thing themselves, that's mission accomplished for me. Whether it helped or whether it was just an inspiration or whether it just gave ideas and you got help from other places, anything that makes you think, I want to do a thing, and then you go and do the thing. That's exactly what we want to do. That's the goal. So awesome. Really happy to hear that.
I think the thing probably should do is every tech channel has this is how to build a computer, Adamant IT style.
I've done one of those. Yeah, but my last how to build a PC video was a couple of years ago now, so I could probably do a 2021 one. I feel like everyone's doing that at the moment, but the other thing as well is that I kind of learned not to worry about what everyone else is doing. It's just like, well, that's their video. I'm going to do my one because you could turn around and say sort of, Rad Tech Channel 911 has done a video on how to build a PC. But then someone might turn around and go, yeah, I don't really like that guy. He doesn't gel with me. Whereas you do gel with me, so I want you to make a video showing me how to do it. And I'm like, cool, sure, okay. Because that happens a lot. A lot of people learn from my videos, and I'm just like, there are kind of better videos on this. And they're like, but we like you more. And I'm like, okay. So
yeah. I also think the other thing that would be good is there doesn't seem to be that much detailed cable management stuff. Not in the sense of what it is, but kind of going through, you've done your first cable management job. Great. Where do you go from here to make it that little bit better kind of thing? There doesn't seem to be okay, you've done one, here is your second cable management, let's make it better. Yeah,
I would like to do that. I think, however, I'm in the process of reinventing my cable management skills because Spud Nugget shamed me. Spudget. Anyway, it was kind of in the back of my mind. The past couple of builds I've done, I've been trying different techniques and I've been getting new ideas because the problem is, Spud Nugget tells everyone that their cable management is awful. However, also he's working with a limited hardware set that he's very familiar with, which makes it easier. Like when you build in the same cases with the same power supplies all the time, you know exactly what works with that configuration.
When you only build in fractal define XL7s or whatever they are, 7XL.
That's right.
You tell everyone
I see you there, Spud Nugget. I'm not saying you have an easy time. However, every build I do is different. And, not because I'm a special snowflake, but every time I build a computer, it's got different parts in it because that's just how the game works. So it makes it very difficult to cable tidy because every time the cables are going to be a slightly different length. So yeah, I'm in the process of reinventing it. I'm coming up. One of the recent ones I did was the rebuild of that computer didn't really have a name, but the video where the person had trashed the LGA socket and we replaced the motherboard. The rebuild of that video was definitely one of my newer endeavors where I zip tied everything down religiously. And I was like, this is working better now. I was a lot more, everything gets zip tied in place. And I also tried some new routes for certain wires as well. Like, for example, HD audio cable that goes to the bottom right of the motherboard. I went along the top and down next to the CPU power cable instead of going down with the ATX and front panel wires. And that worked a treat. And it's just one less wire in the main loom. And that was very effective. So yeah, as I say, I'm trying some new things. And I think once I feel like I've got something to talk about there, I'll make a video and say, right, I've been practicing my cable management. Here's what I've learned,
Yeah.
And I'll open up that conversation.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. I also think possibly a case of kind of going, this is doing it in a really small case kind of thing. This is doing it not in a like mini ITX or anything, but like a really small ATX case, so proper compact ATX cases. So going, you have big components and you are Tetrising here, but this is how you can make it look less of a mess, make it organized.
Something
it won't
like
necessarily
be
super
Q500.
Yeah, it might not necessarily be super pretty, but it will be well managed and easy to deal with if you're doing stuff that kind of angle as well.
Yeah, because there are some times where pretty cable management just isn't an option, and it's more just about what a really good challenge for that would be doing cable management in old cases which don't have cable management. Because like that came up in a video, in a couple of videos where I had a couple of old Antec something or others. The old Antec cases that were really popular with the mesh front. They don't have any cable management at all. None.
Oh, didn't we? There were several of them, weren't there?
Yeah, because Andy ACS owns one when I rebuilt his.
Yes.
And some random person, some random customer had one as well. And both of those, I did what I could in the video, but lots of people in the comments were just like, cable management. I'm like, there is no cable management. What do you want from me? There's nowhere to hide in those cases. So
that would be interesting.
And and those are good practice because it makes you think, okay, I can't just stuff the cables out of sight. We actually have to do something with these. So how do you create a loom and make that loom stay in place? Because, you can say what you like about system integrators, but a lot of them have got cable tidying down to a T.
The other thing that could possibly be quite interesting is taking some of those old cases without cable management and going, I have a Dremel. Let's see if we can actually make cable hides and stuff. Can we make this up to more modern cable management standards?
Maybe.
Will cutting holes and stuff help?
Yeah. It has just enough. For a moment, I was about to turn around and say my Cooler Master ACTS.
However, no, you can't touch that.
I already have. That case is already ruined. I've always said that the next time I use that case, I will do something bonkers with it because it's already been butchered, kind of thing. Well, I suppose I could try and renovate it, but on the other hand, though, that does actually have some amount of cable management. There's enough places to hide in that case. It doesn't have deliberate cable management, but by virtue of the fact that it has a removable motherboard tray, that instantly means there is a cable void behind that motherboard tray. So, kind of more by accident, but
UV reactive cables.
We need to do the UV build. And I need to do the retro build. I'm in the new shop. I don't have any excuses anymore. We need to do these builds that we keep talking about. They'll happen. They're coming soon.
With like the what was it? The XTX 1900 and just stuff like that.
Oh God, yeah. Things are coming. I'm going to roll back because I missed some other stuff in the chat.
Absolutely.
Michael Pilgard, thank you very much for the. I'm just going to say £5.81. Thank you. You know my strife because I don't know what DKK is.
Danish krones.
We've had that one before, haven't we? Yes, that's why he's telling me how much it's worth because we've had this conversation. Thank you very much, Michael. I appreciate it. I'm more human and honest than most YouTubers. Thank you very much. I do my best. It's always tempting to try and put on the best face, if you see what I mean. But at the same time, I'm just like, actually, that's kind of what we can make this YouTuber. That's kind of what I can make this channel about. Is not me trying to be like the big YouTubers, but actually me showing what it's really like, I guess. Like, I don't want to say that a lot of YouTube channels are faking it, because that almost, no one's really faking it, but everyone's editing, if you see what I mean, Like, fun fact, like the most recent video I did, the Dell that I took apart to replace the bottom case. There was something wrong with that. Yeah, that's right. The trackpad wasn't quite sitting right when I put that back together again. And there was actually another half an hour of taking it apart and putting it back together again because the trackpad wasn't quite right. And that got chopped from the video because there was no value in it. It was just something that it was a millimeter out of place. And I'm like, am I really going to add another 10 minutes onto this video to show me taking it apart and putting it back together again? Or am I just going to chop to done?
Yeah.
And so I chose to chop to done,
Yeah.
And so there is an art to cutting out some of the fluff. However, I think that certainly with repairs and soldering stuff, I want to have in all the bits where I'm struggling with it to show people that it's okay to struggle with things, because a lot of YouTubers, a lot of the big YouTubers, they are really good. And like a lot of people now are very practiced. They're really good solderers. But that's the thing, is sometimes they're either they're scaring people off because people be like, I can't do that. Or B, people are not realizing how difficult it actually is and are getting in over their head. So if you put in a bit of that struggle, you show people that, yeah, it's actually quite difficult, but it's okay to struggle. It's okay to be like, oh God, I've got to do this a couple of times. Oh no, it's blown away. Let's put it back on. And, because then when that happens to people and they have that struggle, they don't just go, I can't do this. They go, this is fine. Graham struggled with it as well. I will get this done. That's kind of where I'm going with that. So I think that's kind of where I'm trying to sit now, is that, it's just, and there's always going to be some people, and there's just going to be lots of people that will be like sort of, oh, I need to give you tips to make you better. And I'm just like, no, you don't. I just need more practice. That's the thing. You're seeing me learn as we go. It's not that I don't know how to do it. It's just practice. But yeah. I rant. Also, Spud Nugget. Spudget! Thank you very much. Right, let's roll into another super chat, which could be another conversation. How are we doing for time, by the way? Oh, yeah, we're at 1:40. Yeah, that's fine. We're okay, I think. Yeah, whatever.
It's fine.
We're fine. Anyway, Turnip Gaming, thank you very much for the £5. You decided to purchase a new TV because you occasionally like to play on your PS2 and need the composite ports. Plus, you don't really care about 4K anyway. Yeah, that's a lot of mileage in buying certain stuff just for playing retro consoles. And I think there's a certain pleasure in that.
I quite legitimately want an old non-digital CRT TV.
Yeah.
Which won't try and fettle and prettify the image out of my original Xbox. Because the issue
for an Xbox, yeah.
Because the issue I had with my old TV is it was one of the final CRTs. So it was the flat-fronted CRTs.
Yeah.
But it had like all of the digital processing, image processing stuff. So it was trying to sharpen stuff, and it was trying to, enhance colors and things like that. And instead all it did was blow out red and
I was going to say, you don't want to do that on a CRT. It's just like, one more time for the people in the back. CRTs don't have pixels. You can't sharpen a CRT image in software. Anyway,
Yeah, certainly not. Certainly not in something that's happening in real time.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, with some sort of
you can do
offline back-end post-processing thing that takes you hours a frame.
Although, given the fact that even on modern LCDs, a lot of the post-processing seems like guff and just adds 2 years of input lag. And I think everyone agrees on this. Yeah, like anyone who's buying a TV, the first thing they want to know is, does it have a gaming low lag mode? How do I switch off all the awful frame interpolation? You know, like
Yeah, can I turn off all of the
yeah,
features of this TV
yeah, pretty
and turn
much
it
that.
back into a monitor?
That's right. However, yeah, it's just like, yeah. So why they were trying to do that on a CRT, I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. It's it would be it. Yeah, I kind of want a CRT as well because I want a kind of a little retro corner in the shop for putting stuff together. But it's just a case of it's space commitments and things like that. But yeah, if nothing else, just a little 15-inch or 17-inch portable thing would be fun because then you can just stick it on the side and be like, yeah. And just play a bit of Halo or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Although one thing I will say about that, and you specifically mentioning Halo, is the Master Collection for Halo, where obviously everything has been basically somewhat remade and completely re-released on the PC, has done a good job of just kind of scratching the itch of going, oh yeah, I have to set up all of this retro stuff. So it's kind of like, or I can play the enhanced edition with better graphics and better engine stuff and all of that. And it's just kind of like that really scratches that immediate itch. And if you're kind of going, I want the original experience, then it makes it more for those people.
Yeah, this is also the problem I have with this is the big issue I have with stuff like the Mega Drive and stuff like that. You know, whenever I'm just like, I want to get a Mega Drive and I want to hook it up and play with a proper Mega Drive gamepad, I'm just like, yeah, or I could just emulate and it will look 10 times better and run 10 times better. And I can use a modern gamepad that's actually comfortable to hold, you know. And
I think
a decent individual might turn around and say you're missing the point. But at the same time, that's always the issue is, we love the idea of retro stuff. But in a lot of cases, I don't know. There are some weird in-betweeny areas, though. One of which is like the Wii U, because I've got a Wii U. I didn't buy it; I just acquired it. And playing games on the Wii U, because it's got a HDMI output on it, it still holds up pretty good. And that's still a console that you can just plug in and just play on. And I want to get a Wii U emulator working because I really want to try and play emulated, modded Breath of the Wild, because you can do some wild stuff in that, like Breath of the Wild in 60 frames a second. Just oh my god, I've seen videos of that, and it's just like, oh, this changes everything, you know.
It's in a way, it's kind of why I'm kind of sad that there isn't like an official Switch PC version. So like, I spend £200, buy a thing from Nintendo, and I'm playing the Switch games on a PC, but actually it's 60 FPS.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Without horrific frame drops and timing issues.
This is
Switch.
This is the bizarre thing about Nintendo. They could print money. They could print money, but the thing is, they screw over the consumer, but you don't even get anything out of it. Whereas you could screw over the consumer by saying you need a £200 license to play this on your PC, but
with a hardware key decryptor.
Yeah,
sure.
But then at least you'd have the thing afterwards. You'd be like, I paid through the nose for this, but now I have it. And it's just like, oh, Nintendo, why do you make me hate you so much?
Yeah.
You have so many darling IPs. You have so many beloved franchises. But as a company, you are absolutely crazy.
Yeah. Alas, such is life.
Oh.
I think... But it's also just kind of a thing with retro games, in a sense. You go back to them now, and it's probably a case of only going back to them now are you actually completing them for the first time. In a lot of cases, I feel. Yeah,
in some cases. A lot of games that I play, I did complete them back in the day. However, certainly, I do agree. There are definitely I've definitely had that in the past. Not recently, but I've had it in the past where I've come back to games that I played as a kid and played them properly as an adult because I didn't really understand I didn't understand the nuances of it as a kid. Whereas now I do. And that's very good fun, especially when the game has still got more to show you that you never saw. And I think a lot of people can get that. Like, quite a few of my friends are getting into JRPGs at the moment. And like JRPGs are long games. You know, they have campaigns that are, 40 to 60 hours long. And it's a long way through those games. And so obviously as a kid, you never ever saw the ending. And whereas as an adult now, you can see them. And like, friend of the channel Slinkinage is playing through Final Fantasy IX. And I didn't play the old Final Fantasies as a kid, but I'm absolutely loving seeing someone go through the old Final Fantasy games and going, these things had a rich and amazing story that a lot of people probably never saw because it was behind, 50 hours of gameplay that a lot of people would never have committed to it,
Yeah, absolutely.
So Unreal Tournament's still a joy. I actually want to do an Unreal playthrough again. It's been a while. I've streamed Unreal before, but I don't think I've ever streamed the original Unreal. I've streamed Return to Nepali, the mission pack, but I don't think I've actually ever streamed the original Unreal. But at any rate, I want to revisit those at some point.
Didn't you also try and stream Quake 1?
Quake 1, I'm not sure. Quake 2, I briefly streamed. However, I was having issues. For some reason or other, I was getting splitting headaches playing Quake 2, and I couldn't figure out what was wrong.
Oh, you're also getting really weird performance issues with it, weren't you?
No, I wasn't having. I don't think I was having performance issues, but I was definitely getting headaches while playing it. Couldn't play it for more than 2 hours without stepping away. And loads of people were just like, oh, check your field of view and check this, check that. And I'm just like, the field of view is fine. I've checked it all. I've got everything is the normal kind of settings that I would roll with, but something about the game was just wrong. Maybe it was the speed, because obviously old shooters are fast games and newer shooters are not as fast. And maybe it was the fact that I was in an old shooter that was very fast with no view bob, so you just glide around everywhere at full speed. Maybe that's what was doing me in. I don't know, but I kind of scratched the itch anyway.
I had the same issue with all of the Fallout games.
Yeah,
every single Fallout game gives me terrible headaches and eye pains.
Interesting.
On several different monitors, several different PCs.
Yeah,
just all of them. Something about the style of the 3D-ness.
I know a lot of people had
causes me physical pain.
A lot of people had issues with BioShock because the PC BioShock version had a default FOV of like 65 degrees because designed for console. And 65 degrees on a monitor that's half a meter from your face is not fun. And that game, it changes your world when you play BioShock at like, I don't know, 80 degrees or so for something like that game. I mean, for a cinematic game, 80 degrees. For everything else, 90 degrees is life, I think. But I don't know, whatever. Yeah, it's like being scoped all the time. But anyway, I don't know. We're getting into classic games, but lots of things. I want to play.
Also, Lemmings being 30 years old.
Oh yeah, that was the thing.
Last week.
Yep. Lemmings is 30 years old, and there's a Lemmings statue in Dundee, Scotland, as well.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, of course, it's in Dundee. Where else would it be?
Dundee. It was really cool. It's like, I mean, it's not a statue per se. It's like a there's an arch or a bridge or a gate or something, and one of the posts has got some bronze lemmings building and climbing up onto it, with one lemming on top, sort of doing that, and it's just a little nod to it. And a lot of people are just like, "What the hell are those?" It's just like, "Those are lemmings, you dick," So.
It's the point where I absolutely embarrass myself and say I don't think I've ever actually played more than half a level of Lemmings.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I would shame you for that. You know what Lemmings is and you know what it's about, though, is the important thing.
I absolutely... There was a browser version of it, if I remember correctly. Like, fully original game emulated in the browser. Absolutely all of it. Warts and all. And I was just like... Stuff like that amazes me.
Yeah. Streets of Rage 2 on Mega Drive. Yes, Streets of Rage 2 was ace. Play Streets of Rage 4. It is a faithful modern sequel, and Streets of Rage 4 is amazing. If you like Streets of Rage 2, you will like Streets of Rage 4. It's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
And
there we go. Someone's just told me what the Lemmings, the remake Lemmings
DHTML.
was.
Oh, dynamic HTML. That was going to be the latest thing at some point, wasn't it? Like kind of like HTML5 or something. I don't know.
Oh my god.
Have you found
the
it?
The HTML Lemmings version 1.28e, 1st of August 2004.
This is that point. You know that scene at the end of Saving Private Ryan where Private Ryan is looking down and he shifts back to old Private Ryan and he just ages by about 80 years in the space of 5 seconds. That GIF. Yeah, I want to do another Final Fantasy Tactics run as well at some point. Not 2 or anything. Just Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, the one that I always had, because it's been a long time since I've streamed that, and I want to play that again because I played Tactics Advance 2, Grimoire of the Rift. That's an in-joke.
Grimoires.
Yeah, and the story was bad, man. It was bad, and I was like. I was so sad that Tactics Advance 2 was just not very good. I was like, I'd rather be playing Tactics Advance 1. It was better. It played better and it had a better story. And it was just one of those, there's nothing more disappointing. I think this is why I haven't played Dungeon Keeper 2 yet. Because I
don't want it to be bad.
I think it's going to disappoint me. Yeah. Or... I'm just gonna be like sort of it's okay, but I'd rather be playing Dungeon Keeper 1. You know, there's nothing worse than playing the sequel of a game like 2 decades after it was released and going, oh, it wasn't actually very good. You know.
So you're saying if you do Final Fantasy Tactics, you also need to do challenges like not allowed to air render every single enemy.
Oh no. Yeah.
You're right. Must actually unlock Ninja.
You're right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That would be a good point. Actually, is I would do a tactics advanced run, and I would have to set rules. I'd have to make them up as I go. But like, if we get to a certain thing and I unlock a certain ability, I'd have to say we're not allowed to use this ability because it's bullshit overpowered and I abuse it every time I play this game. Such as air render, because air render in Tactics Advance is bovine excrement overpowered. It's ridiculous. It takes your physical attack stats and makes it a ranged attack. And that is just broken. That is completely broken. All right, I should probably check in the chat. Turnip Gaming, thank you for the $5. Much appreciated. You got a sharp 32-inch TV for 180 quid. Fair enough. That's all right. It does the job, doesn't it?
I think that's the thing with sort of TVs at that price range is you have to be very careful of the exact specific full model number that you're buying.
Yeah.
Because the next day you'll buy one that's still labeled as, the Viewmaster 87, and actually it's the Viewmaster 87 version C, and it's the one with all the cheap shit in it.
Yeah, that's the annoying thing, is that they can keep changing the panels in them for whatever panel they can get hold of on that particular production run, and some of the panels will be good and some of them will be bad. And it's
and it's a case of, in a way, I guess that's what you're paying for when you're buying like an 8, 9, 10.
Yeah, that's true.
A pound screen and stuff. It's kind of a case of you are at the premium range, so the decent panels get filtered into those TVs, and the bad ones get shuffled down the stack.
Yeah.
So it's kind of that.
And likewise, if you want it to be cheap, then they're going to use whatever the parts that because the cost of certain components, like the LCD panel, goes up and down. And so in order to hold that low cost, they have to buy whatever panel is at that price at the given time. Yeah. And if the good panel that they had found has gone up in price, well, I guess that goes out the window and they've got to buy the cheap panel this time. So,
Yeah.
bait and switch. Sometimes it can be a bait and switch. There are times where that can happen, and I think that is also down to the responsibility of communication with reviewers as well. Because I want to say it's the reviewer's fault for misrepresenting the case. Like, case in point, whose SSD was it? It was the XPG SSDs that got rad reviews. However, again, they had it was not a standard bill of materials in there. So different the XPG insert model number of SSD here, different ones of it could have different components in it. So the one that you purchased might not get the same benchmark scores as what you saw on the review website. So the issue there is it's a question of, well, the reviewers need to disclose that information. However, also the reviewers need to know that might be the case as well. Because I would imagine that a lot of reviewers, that's not something they expect when they get sent a product. They get sent the product, they review it as the condition that they received it in. And if the manufacturer has not told them, by the way, this is not a standard bill of materials, your mileage may vary,
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, it's probably one of the reasons why sort of RAM reviews aren't necessarily a big thing, because it's so difficult to buy an exact specific set of RAM.
Oh, what, the specific actual modules on it?
Yeah, exactly. To an extent, anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And also just the case of what would you actually demonstrate, because there's no real difference.
Yeah, yeah.
There's no real difference between them.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Right, let's see. How many monitors have I got connected to my main PC? At home, I run dual monitors. I've got two. At home, I run two 27-inch 1440p screens, which is a setup that I quite like. I like 1440p a lot because 1440p is high res enough that I can do 3 columns per screen. So I will have 3 columns for social media, Discord, and Twitter, etc., and then I can have a game or something on the left screen. Right now in the shop, at the moment, I'm single monitoring because I've just set up. However, I normally run dual screens on the shop setup, and however, to get another screen onto this bench, I need to do an ARM setup here because, like, I was having thoughts. Let me can I get a wide-angle shot of this? Hang on a moment. Going on an adventure, everyone. If we go to there, and if I go to bench cam and I go to 90 degrees, 90 degrees, 90 degrees, there we go. So there's the bench as it currently stands, and I've got, one monitor there. Hello, Caradog. But the thing is, I want to have soldering station, hot air station, bench power supply all along here, and also I've got to find somewhere for the microphone to go as well. So I've kind of got this issue of, by the time I want all my equipment up here, but there's nowhere to put it yet, and the monitor is in the way of everything. But I'm thinking if I get 2 arm mounts, the monitors I can have 2 monitors, this one and another one, floating off the back of the counter, which will mean I'll have space for all of the equipment around the back of the counter, and then I will still have 2 monitors. And I'll have one monitor that is my notes and references and stuff like that, and I'll have another monitor which will just be a dedicated OBS monitor. I've got to get this camera back to a sensible place again. Podcast split. There we go. So yeah, so I'm single monitoring at the moment, but I want to go dual monitors again on this setup, which I think will be the sweet spot. That's the end of my adventure. So yes, that's the thing at the moment, and that's what works for me. I don't really feel like 3 monitors is something that I think a lot of people think they want, but then when they've actually got 3 monitors, they find they don't actually use them all.
Yes, absolutely. I've got 3 at work. What are they? 2417s, I think. Whatever your old ones were.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I've got 3 of those. I've got 1 portrait and then 2 landscape. And I just kind of find that it's not really of benefit. I only did it because I had the monitors sitting around, and I was like, "Oh, I'll try it out." I've never used it. So let's see what it's like. Let's see if I actually get a benefit out of this. At work, where I have the most windows I'm juggling, and it's just kind of not particularly. It's useful, and it's certainly the case of I'd rather have 3 small screens than 1 single big screen of the same amount of screen space.
Yeah.
Having 3 separate displays it doesn't matter the size of them, just having physically separate displays is better
Yeah.
than 1 of the same size, I think. Because even with snapping zones and stuff, when some programs just don't work with them.
Yeah.
Like Citrix, like Remote Desktop, things like that. They don't specifically work particularly tidily with snapping zones and stuff.
This is exactly what makes me afraid of ultra wide screens. Because for many times, because I like the classic dual screen setup so much, one would imagine that I would love an ultra wide screen that is essentially just 2 monitors bolted together. So not super, but like the ultra wide screen, like the latest ultra wide screens, which are literally just 2 16:9s put together. However, I'm concerned about those monitors for exactly that reason, that there are just some things that don't like snapping. And also I feel like having separate monitors is easier to organize in your mind because you've got a space to put something in. You've got a physical frame that it goes to.
Yeah, absolutely. But it is a case of, certainly for me, it is a case that Citrix just doesn't work tidily with it, and just sort of little things like that. And certainly, at least the instances of it that we need to deal with is it doesn't it doesn't follow windows. You can't put stuff on different windows. You can only use a single monitor. You can only use a single monitor for it, and it can only use whatever is the Window's primary monitor. And just stuff like that.
Does Citrix ever get updated? Because everything I know about Citrix is that it's awful and everyone hates it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Part of it, I feel, is a lot of the time, I feel, is the implementation of it. It isn't specifically Citrix that is the problem. It is the thing that is being run through Citrix that is also the problem.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Citrix does just seem to be meh, because it does kind of seem to just get signed off on giant projects by someone who never has to use it. So the person who's paying the bill for it isn't the person who's using it. So they never see any of the issues with it. They just see a slightly lower monthly bill than company Y, therefore that's better.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Nottingham Phone Repair says, when running dual monitor and playing a game, how do you stop the second one from blacking out? That's to do with what mode the game is running in. The worst case scenario, it's going to vary depending on game, and different games behave differently. But broadly speaking, if your game is running full screen mode, so let's for argument's sake call it exclusive full screen, then it runs in the window that it's full screen to, and everything else goes black because that full screen application has not sent anything to those other monitors. In an ideal world, when you're running a multi-monitor setup, you want to be playing borderless full screen, which basically means it's a window, but there are no borders to it at all. There's no title bar, nothing, and it is sized to fit the screen perfectly. And as a result of that, because it's just a window on top of everything, your other screens don't black out, and it's very easy to Alt-Tab out of the game or just mouse over to something else. So borderless full screen is the holy grail of gaming on a multi-screen setup. However, some games don't have borderless full screen. There are apps you can get, like Borderless Gaming, which can force certain games into borderless mode. Or alternatively, you just run windowed mode. And it depends on the game as to whether that's acceptable or not. There are some games where I have no issue running it windowed mode. Like a lot of strategy games, I don't mind being windowed mode because it's just easier. However, some games, obviously, when you're in windowed mode and you can see the start bar or the border, it completely breaks immersion, in my opinion. So
it's like Sins of the Solar Empire.
Yeah.
I only run that windowed.
Yeah, I run Sin.
I found that it has odd issues in borderless. And certainly in full screen, if you tab out of it, just the wrong moment, it will tie up the entire game.
Yeah. And also he just deleted it. Never mind. I was going to say, as Teltac just said, most of the time you shouldn't get blackouts if you're in full screen mode. But even still, when you're in full screen mode, if you tab out of the game, the full screen game will probably minimize, and it's probably very janky to tab out of it as well. There'll be quite a long delay, and all of your windows might shift around as the computer comes out of full screen mode, and it's just janky. On a single monitor setup, it doesn't particularly matter, especially because you're probably not multitasking on a single screen. However, as soon as you're running more than one monitor, full screen mode is just universally disgusting. So, you Brits ready for dinner? I am. I'm getting hungry. I think we are over the 2-hour mark as well. I think we're about ready to wrap up. I'm going to go and get food. So,
absolutely.
Have we got anything else to get to?
Just someone asking about AIOs.
I can't see it. Do you want to take that one?
Yeah, of course. Just asking as to what AIOs you'd recommend for, I believe it was an overclock 3600, but that doesn't particularly make a difference.
No, not hugely. AIOs, right now, my opinion of AIOs, I always...
EIO.
I still like the Corsair ones. I think they are reasonably priced for the feature set, if you like a bit of RGB and stuff like that, and they're solid performers. The Arctic Liquid Freezer 2 is the king of performance at very low cost. The Arctic Liquid Freezer 2 performs admirably and costs very little. However, in my opinion, it's ugly as sin. I don't like the wiring on it, and it's horrifying to mount. The mounting system is awful. The wiring on it is ugly, and I don't like. And it's a bit.
The mounting systems now, at least, certainly on the version 2 and 3 of it, or Gen 2 and 3 of it, is identical to basically any other AIO I've installed.
That's not the one that I installed last month, then.
Yeah, it's basically identical. You take your back plate, you put 4 posts in, you put your plate on, you screw it in.
Oh yeah, no, you haven't seen the latest gen. You haven't seen the latest gen Corsairs then. When, for example, on certainly at least on AMD, they use just 2 hooks on the standard mounts, and those.
I don't like those because you don't get very good. Usually, the hold down isn't particularly even.
Yeah, I could believe that. It does the job.
Yeah.
But then if you're number chasing,
But it's also the case of the liquid freezers were designed to be better.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so on that
front,
it is good.
They were designed to be coolers, not fashion accessories.
Yes, okay. Yeah, all right.
So it's a case of, they're very much aiming it at what is the best way we can get good, better mounting.
Yeah, that's fair. I think
using a full
I'm possibly being a bit harsh when I say that the mounting is bad and stuff like that. I think the thing to remember is just the important thing is that the mounting it's not as simple as the other mainstream coolers is. They're a bit more fiddly to mount. And the wiring, I'm not a big fan of it. Because, like, certainly, I fitted an Arctic Liquid Freezer 2 240mm. The whole thing ran off of a single 3-pin header. The fans, the pump, the whole shooting match. And I was a bit like sort of, that doesn't give very much control. And I know you can change it, but that's just the out-of-the-box configuration. And it's like, this is all fixable.
I like it because it means there's less spaghetti.
Yes, that is true. And it does make for a very basic, it does make for a clean install.
And
but
simple.
I felt like there were less options with it. I don't know. I feel like the Liquid Freezer 2 is definitely more one for enthusiasts who potentially want something that's a bit more a la carte, where you don't mind a complicated mount because you're going for numbers, and you don't mind rewiring fans if you want independent fan control and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, because for me, having the fans and the pump on the same header, that's a no-no. That's a deal breaker for me. I didn't like that at all, because pump speed and fan speed are two completely different controls for the cooler, and I want independent control over both of them. Because when you're running a quiet setup on an AIO, generally speaking, on liquid coolers, you don't need to ramp up the fans until you've been under load for like 10 or 15 minutes. So what you do on an AIO is you set the pump speed profile to what you would normally have your fan profile set to. Because if the CPU goes onto load, just having the pump step up from 50% to 80% is probably all you need to do. Just circulate the water a bit faster. And it's not until you've been under load for like 15 minutes that you actually need the fans to ramp up and start cooling the liquid.
Yeah, basically.
So as I say,
a lot of soak. There's a lot of heat soaking that just obviously because there's such a big thermal mass that you can do. So the fans probably don't need to actually change in speed.
Yeah, liquid freeze. Am I getting this wrong? Oh, L240 from Deep Cool. Okay, I don't know the Deep Cool cooler, but 88 degrees on a 3600. Yeah, something's gone wrong. You got 88 degrees on your 3600. Something has gone wrong there. I mean, don't get me wrong. Despite being a low end chip, the 3600 does kick out a lot of heat, because the thing about the low end AMD CPUs is everything's on one CCX. So you actually have the same issue that Intel have, where despite being a cluster chip, most of your heat is coming from one bit of the chip, which makes heat extraction quite difficult. So the 3600 does run surprisingly hot, considered for what it is. However, 88 degrees, something's gone wrong there, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you got a bad mount or something. You know, I don't know what has gone wrong, but something has gone wrong.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. But certainly in my experience, I can't actually hear the difference between basically at 0 and 100% pump speed on basically any of them.
It depends, yeah. My NZXT Kraken, the pump is noisy as hell on that thing. My Kraken has it's actually bad enough that I'm not going to change it all, because my computer at home is in a state of, if I change the case, I'm going to change everything. I would change the case and the cooler together, because I've got a H500 and a Kraken X52 at the moment. And the case and the cooler, for me, they go hand in hand, because they all go into NZXT CAM. They work together, they talk to each other, and the lighting and the aesthetic goes together. So I don't want to change one without changing the other. However, the pump is really noisy on it, and it frustrates me. Corsair pumps, I can hear them, but I'm not particularly fussed by most of them. So generally speaking, you can run your Corsair pumps pretty high and not notice it. What did I don't think I've got any comments on any others without hearing them recently. So it varies, is what I'm saying. Some AIO pumps are noisy and some are not.
Yeah. That's the thing I was going to say because obviously the D5 in my custom loop, I was very early on running it it like 20% and seeing
Yeah.
like, what difference does this make? And then I just went, 100%. Oh, I can't hear it. I'm just running it at 100%. Never mind.
Personally, well, I suppose it doesn't matter too much. Yeah, personally, part of me would be very tempted to run it at like 80 or 90%, just so it's not running flat out. But I don't know if that would actually, because I like to run things at slightly below maximum, because often going just a little bit below maximum drastically reduces wear and tear on things. However, I've got no evidence as to whether that is actually a thing for the D5 pump, for example.
Yeah,
but yeah,
absolutely.
just a thought.
No idea.
So yeah.
But it was just a case where I was just like, I can't hear it, so I'm not going to bother.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Yeah.
And I need to, but yes, I very much need to clean out that system, and
it needs an overhaul, I would imagine.
I need to empty out the
flush new pipes. Yeah.
Well, just clean out the CPU block, and also actually work out why I'm getting really bad temperatures out of the CPU block. It's like the GPU maxed out load, 150% power target, everything slightly overclocked, and it's like, oh yes, we're going to majority 50 degrees, hotspot 69, 70, kind of thing, and I'm like, good, fine, we're done. CPU, we're idling it 60 degrees. Under load, we are 60 degrees. Under heavy load, we're 70 degrees. Kind of thing. And I'm just like,
it's not overheating, but for a custom loop, that's not the numbers you should be seeing.
No, and it's just bizarre that it's load, reasonably heavy load, as in like games running, video decoding, blah, 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 blah. Like 60 degrees, there's no change. But then it's like absolutely nailing it, like 70-ish. And I'm like, very confusing, but okay.
Big fair enough. Right. I think that is everything for now. I did spot in the chat, someone asked, where was it? When's the next vlog video? I saw it and I've lost it, but someone asked when the next vlog will be. It will be either tomorrow or Monday, basically just as soon as I've edited the video. Speaking of which, I need to pull some footage off of this computer for that. So yeah, as soon as I've edited, and again, lots to see in there because I've filled the shop with stuff. So once again, if you want to see the behind the scenes of the new shop getting set up and stuff, then you can either you can join the YouTube channel, become a YouTube member. It's called a member, isn't it? Yeah, you can become a channel member, and then you can see the community posts that are members only. And also, if you do that and you link your YouTube to Discord, you also get into the secret Discord room where it all gets posted there. And the same thing goes for Patreons, and my Twitch subscribers. They also get to see the behind-the-scenes footage and access to the exclusive content on the Discord chat. So yeah, the Discord chat is where you'll see most of it because it's really easy for me to just post photos to Discord. However, the actual videos, the actual moving vlogs, they will get posted to all of the premium platforms where I can post stuff. So yeah, that's that. About getting a car to move stuff. I have a car, is the answer to that one, basically. A car solved that problem. For going back and forth from the car. It's not worth it. By the time you've loaded it into the cart, you could have just carried it through the door. So yeah, but yes, what's better for me, Patreon or YouTube membership? Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know actually.
It would be interesting to run the numbers to see what you actually get.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that one.
So I wonder if YouTube will technically work out slightly better, only because of the volume of transaction that's happening. Just because obviously, I presume it gets wrapped up in the AdSense money as well.
Potentially.
But then it would possibly be worse off because the pound is increasing in value compared to the dollar. Yeah. Whereas isn't the Patreon in pounds?
Yeah. Yeah.
So interesting side question to ask about FX and stuff as well.
That's the problem, is that I'm thinking about that and I'm just like, that's a really interesting question, but I'm also just like, can I be bothered to figure that out? Hell no. Basically, I would say support me on whatever is easiest for you. One of the things that's worth bearing in mind that for channel members, it's really easy to be a channel member on YouTube. You hit that join button. However, the community's posts are mobile view only, unless I'm mistaken.
You can view it on desktop.
Oh, can you get to it on desktop now?
Yeah,
okay, yeah, that's less bad.
If you go to the channel,
yeah,
you have both. You have the tabs along the top, which are
home, that's right,
playlist, community, membership, channels, and about.
Oh, that's fine then. Yeah, so you can get to it. I was yeah. So it is just a matter of where it's easiest for you to join. That's why I have multiple places where you can join me. Is you can use whichever one is more convenient for you. And as always, I'll do my other shill as well. Is that if you have an Amazon Prime account, you can link that to your Twitch account, and you can give me a free Prime subscription at no cost to yourself and get access to the exclusive content as well. So that's also a thing.
I see.
Percentage of people on YouTube.
I was looking at that and just saw that you can stick posts on different tiers and stuff, and I was just like,
yes,
okay.
Yeah,
but I was very confused by the way it was presented because there is a single tier.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, we've only added one tier for that so far. So yeah, and the other one as well. How many people are on YouTube Premium? I haven't looked in a while actually, and I'm just going to quickly check.
Where does that actually give you the breakdown?
It's in analytics somehow. Let's see. Suggested video, YouTube search.
It's just interesting. It's just interesting with that.
Where is it? Audience.
Oh dear.
From subscribers, age and gender. Oh, I think it's just in the revenue tab. Revenue sources. There it is. Revenue sources. They don't give me a percentage breakdown. However, it looks like YouTube Premium accounts for about a bit more than 10%, maybe about 15% at a very quick casual glance. About 15% of the, well, I'll rephrase that. 15% of the revenue is via YouTube Premium, which doesn't necessarily mean 15% of the subscribers, because a YouTube Premium viewer is worth more than a free ad supported viewer. I say worth more. I'm not placing worth on my viewers. You understand what I'm getting at?
The financial remuneration, the actual remuneration is greater.
So yeah,
from YouTube Advanced, whatever it's called, Extra, YouTube Extra Plus, Star Edition thingy. But yes, it's also interesting. Apparently, you get different amounts from people from different countries.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
It's just,
also, some people saying sort of, oh, YouTube take 30% from memberships. Yes, this is true. That's also down to just transaction costs and stuff like that. That's the same with every platform takes their slice of the pie. So that's why the original question came up as to which is better to support me on, because there are some ways of supporting a content creator. Like, let's take, for example, on Twitch. A Twitch subscription, Twitch take 50% of the subscription money. So if you want to give someone, say, $5 on Twitch, if you donate $5 to them via PayPal, they'll get $5 minus the 3%. Minus the 3% PayPal transaction fee. Whereas if you subscribe to them for $5, then Twitch will take $2.50 of that, which is obviously a lot more. So it's better to donate directly to a Twitch subscriber than it is to subscribe to them. So that's what they mean by that. However, I'm not focusing on these numbers too much because, as I say, everyone takes a slice of the pie. So it's kind of it's not really a fight you can win. And I don't want to dictate how people give me money, if you see what I mean. I'm just simply going to provide as many ways as possible and say, do whatever you like the most, and for some people they're going to be like, oh yeah, it's really easy for me to join on YouTube, I'll do that. Some people will be like, oh, I'm a Patreon user, I support other people on Patreon, I'll go through Patreon because then I can see all of my exclusive content in one place. And then there will be some people who will be like, I have moral objections to Patreon, I want to support you via another means. So that's why you make multiple means.
Given that Patreon infer that they are in fact PayPal.
Yes, whatever. However, we are massively over time, so let's not get into that. I'm hungry and I'm very tired, which is why I'm speaking very slowly and going. So
Anyway,
but
yes. And to continue the thing that I said last week,
Yeah.
because you're probably about to do the thing
Yeah.
about the Twitter and the Discord and the so on and the so forth.
Yeah.
I was going to say about the fact of actually interacting with you on Twitter, and saying the content that you want to see from that platform to the general audience, in a case of saying, what content do you want to see through that, and please supply that to be interacted with.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know the answer to that question, but yes, that's a good question.
That was my statement to
Yes.
the audience of please interact with the Twitter and say this is the content we'd like.
Yeah, sure.
Twitter.
Sure.
This is what would make it useful for us.
It's worth noting that I don't keep up with the messaging inbox on Twitter very well. However, mentions, so just @ing me on Twitter, you have quite a high likelihood of getting a response on that, because it's very easy for me to just simply reply to that. Or if it's just a thing, if you're like sort of, here's my build, do you like it? I can be like, that's cool, dude, post, So
absolutely.
You're more likely to get responses from that kind of thing. But yeah, right. What's the new shop address? That will be up on the website soon. I've got to update the actual adamantIT.co.uk website. So yeah, that's got to go up. I think that's about it. Yeah, that's it. We're done. I'm sorry to anyone whose questions I missed. Very sorry. Hopefully we'll get to you next time. But yeah, I'm tired and my brain is a bit frazzled and I'm getting hungry. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you for the new new members that we've had today. Thank you for the super chats, and thank you for everything else and for being here in general. I've been a little bit sleepy today, so sorry if I've been a bit sort of, but it's been a busy weekend. I've done a lot this weekend, so yeah, I'll see you all soon. I think that's everything. Yep, Caradog is bashing out the Twitch and the Discords and the things like that. We're near 100,000, and that's it. Right, I'm going to hit stop. Say goodbye, Caradog.
Goodbye, Caradog.
He did the thing. Right, bye everyone. See you soon.
Stay safe. Goodbye.
And